Hey everyone, it's Brother Chris here, especially with my co-host, which is Gypsy Lady Eva. We've got a lot to discuss today, especially for the news that just happened. Actually, at roughly 1:30 our time, Eastern Standard Time, when that time was actually 7:35 a.m. and that was right over in Rome. But we'll be pulling Gypsy Lady Eva now and seeing how she's handling it for the Pope. So, hello, Gypsy Lady Eva. How are you? All right. So it seems like she's actually frozen, or something has happened on her end. Um, you might have to pull her back in a couple seconds. So if she wants to disconnect and then call back in, that would be wonderful, and everything is actually a little bit better. Your end is frozen, but yes. So Vatican over in Rome is actually going through a lot of things right now. You're frozen, love. You're frozen. So yes, she's going to call back in, and we're going to see how things are going to go with her. Don't know what's going actually on, but it could be to do with actually what's going on over here in North America. So we're going to try with her in a couple of minutes, but yes, just see what's going actually on. But yeah, so Pope actually has passed away, and a lot of things are actually happening with people altogether, and we're going to be able to see what actually Gypsy Lady Eva has to say. Technology these days, especially on this World Day, especially Easter Monday. So Easter Monday, again, those Pope Francis did pass away actually at 7 a.m. Eastern, not Eastern Standard Time, but 7:35 a.m. over there in Rome, and that would put actually at 1:35 p.m. or a.m. something like that over here. So yesterday time for us, which is today time over there. So how are things going over there for you guys over there? Since you used to go to a Catholic church, I think it was.
Yes, it was. Sacred Heart. It's a good little parish. There's a lot of good people in there that do a lot of good work all the way around. But again, you got to remember, this is a small town. And in small towns, people have a very different attitude than they do in the cities.
Yeah.
And so not only are the Catholics mourning his death here, but so are many of the Protestants in the area. They did think a lot of him. And it's a sad time for Catholics. I mean, it's like right now we have no head of the church. It'd be like, well, no, it wouldn't. Never mind. I was going to say like us having the president die, but then there's always the vice president. So there's always somebody ready to step in no matter what. And but in the Catholic Church, it takes a while to get another pope elected.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens quickly, and other times it takes a long time, like 3 years.
Yeah, but how are you doing yourself, though?
I admire him. I think he did a lot of good in the world. He proved that you didn't have to sit on a golden throne like other leaders of the world do. Trump. And sorry, I couldn't resist that. But I mean, he really did get out into the people. He was not afraid to meet the people. And I think that was a positive. And so I admired him for that. But as for some of the other things that would be in the same arena, I just, it's like, oh, come on, let's get this church in the 21st century. We're still stuck in the dark ages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so gosh. Yeah, before we went live though, I turned on Gypsy Lady. I know this might sound rude, but again, those opinions are opinions. So I turned around and said I was kind of happy though. The reason why is basically because of what has happened with the Indigenous community within the past, about us actually going to residential schools within the States and also Canada. The other thing though is sort of like what you're saying though about Trump. They have been predicting for a very long time that Donald J. Trump will actually pass away shortly after the Pope has passed away. I'm sorry for the Trump supporters, but you guys have to start realizing though. Look at your economics area. Look at your society within the states. Your state has gone downhill big time ever since he became elected. And don't be blaming Biden. Do not blame actually Barack Obama. And it's so true though. Things have gone down. Look at the stock markets for that. But yeah, so
Did you see that?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Stock market today is down almost 1,100 points.
Yeah.
Dow Jones average. That's not good.
No. So St. Peter's Square is right now busy with a whole bunch of people actually there. I'm going to play a little clip though, and it's going to be actually to do with the Indigenous people, to do with what happened just a couple of years ago. Since Pope Francis did come to actually to Canada, actually I'll play a little bit. And we're not going to speak. We're going to let this play and let you guys listen all together. So, yes, here we go.
An act of contrition. Pope Francis praying over the graves of generations. Lives cut short, say survivors, by the residential school the Roman Catholic Church ran at this site.
It is a blessing to receive and host you. You have traveled a long way to be with us on our land and to walk with us on the path of reconciliation.
That path leading the pontiff to a display of the culture the church tried to extinguish, along with the names of more than 4,000 children who either died or never returned.
I am deeply sorry.
Pope Francis built on his initial apology, saying the church cooperated with governments to carry out policies of forced assimilation.
Sorry for the ways in which, regrettably, many Christians supported the colonizing mentality of the powers that oppressed the indigenous peoples.
After the apology, this moment of raw emotion, the Pope's mere presence reopened wounds.
I just feel really disappointed, really let down. But I wanted to hear, on behalf of the Catholic Church, I apologize for residential schools and for all of the atrocities that happened. And I didn't hear that.
But others found comfort in the Pope's words.
I think they were powerful. They were powerful. I think it came from the heart. So I'm happy with that.
A long time coming in their healing journey.
I'm blessed.
All right, so yeah, there was a small little clip actually to do with actually Pope Francis basically indicating that he is very sorry to do with what actually took place in the residential schools. I know some people though that are indigenous, since I am third generation indigenous, some people though that were in the schools are not forgiving because of what actually took place. Some people are forgiving because the words actually came true. So, anything that you got to say about that? Gypsy's over there shaking her head.
Well, you have to understand too, like I say, here in the States, one of the things that was never really discussed was the indigenous people, period. And the only way you really became associated, and I shouldn't say associated, but where you became more aware that there were other people out there was in the grade, grade B Western movies that were out there with shoot 'em up, bang, bang, kill those natives because they're savages, big deal. And it was only, I would say, in the last 50 years is when we really begin to understand what the indigenous people were all about and why they were here. Why they were here, how they were here, and the part that they played in the Western expansion of the United States. And it always amazed me because if you read some of the histories that were written at that time, telling how the Native Americans helped the people, got them used to the land, showed them how to hunt and kill buffalo so that they could survive. I mean, it's amazing. And all the bang bang shoot 'em up type thing of the Western movies just wasn't a thing. Not that things didn't happen, but it wasn't a thing, if that makes any sense. And I think there's been more to, excuse me, I did not mean to do that. But I think it has opened a lot of things for people to begin to explore the whole indigenous aspect of these two continents, North and South America.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. It's so good. So, yeah, our next clip though is what Gypsy Lady Eva turned around and said, and she was talking about of how do we actually go by picking the next pope. I'm going to play a little clip there, and what it does is it kind of explains of when or how long it could take altogether. This is something though that's very important, especially now, because we need to go forward instead of backwards, which is what Gypsy Lady Eva said. So here we go with this little clip.
The process for picking a new pope to lead more than 1 billion Catholics around the world comes down to an ancient voting ritual cloaked in secrecy. It's called conclave, and here's how it works. After a pope dies or resigns, there's a period called sede vacante, roughly time of the empty throne in Latin. As the faithful gather in St. Peter's Square to say goodbye to the previous pope, top-ranking clergymen, known collectively as the College of Cardinals, descend on Vatican City from around the world. They're the ones who get to decide the new pope when conclave begins, usually 2 to 3 weeks after the start of sede vacante. Conclave dates back to the 1200s. 1492 was the first time it was held in the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, so actually the 1492 time period is right when it was. And while this was going on, I was thinking about one movie, actually 2 movies. It's got Tom Hanks in it, and that there was actually the Angels and Demons, and also the Da Vinci Code. And those 2 are great movies, especially for what has just recently happened. It kind of does a little twist actually in the movie, but the truth is actually coming out within the movie altogether. Now, since you have gone to a Catholic church in the past, Gypsy Lady Eva, what does the white basically mean?
The what?
The white right when they're actually burning.
The smoke, you mean?
Yes.
Well, set this up here. In the conclave, it's all done behind closed doors, so we don't really know what goes on in between. And then they cast ballots, and I'm not sure. It's like a white paper or whatever, and no, it's not. They cast ballots. If on those ballots the Pope is not elected, they throw it into the fire. They do use a kind of enhancing chemical so that they can really see, and the smoke is black, which means there is still no Pope in the elected. And so they continue to cast ballots until a pope is elected, at which time all the ballots again are thrown into the fire. And again, they use a little bit of a chemical enhancer so that it is really, truly white smoke, which says, we have a pope. And I know when Francis was elected, Pope Francis, originally the courtyard, whatever, around the Vatican was just packed.
So that would be in St. Peter's Square.
St. Peter's Square, thank you.
Yeah.
Just from a non-Catholic. Oh, okay.
So.
I'm being funny. And that's what the white smoke means. I don't know how that tradition got started, but it probably goes back to the Romans, who also used smoke as a sign of what's happening.
Yeah. So again, though, that goes all the way back to the 1400 time period. And Rome, though, is way older than North America. Of course, we all know that. But the thing, though, is it's always great to learn about the history. Now, again, I know growing up, though, my father had said, though, that there was supposed to be 3 more popes actually altogether before Christ came back. But nobody knows right when he's going to come back or anything like that. But go ahead.
Not even the Son of God knows when the time has come.
That's right.
That's a quote for the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't know which.
Oh gosh. So, but yeah, no, I know just recently J.D. Vance has actually met the Pope, and J.D. Vance was actually criticized from the Pope, and the Pope was not happy at all for what he has been trying to do.
Well, the Pope isn't happy with Trump either.
No.
And that goes back to his first term.
Yeah.
Excuse me. To say that the Pope doesn't get himself involved in politics is like saying,
Madonna doesn't drink.
Good one. But they do, I don't want to say stick their nose, but they do have their fingers in different political pots, if you want to use it that way. Because if you go back through history, there's just all kinds of little things. But the one that always stuck in my mind was when Henry VIII decided to divorce his wife.
Yeah.
And I think the first time was okay with the Pope, but the second time it's like, no, And Henry says, well, screw you, Pope. We're going to do it my way. And thus the Anglican Church was born. Very, very, very similar to the Catholic Church, but no Pope.
Yeah. Well, again, though, it's like the post for today's show, though, is they were right. So Notre Dame was right. The blind Baba,
yes,
was correct altogether. There has been people throughout history that have actually predicted about the Pope dying in 2025. Now, I know some people, though, that say, oh, yeah, well, they were bluffing and all that. But, again, those are with our podcast, though, that we've done to do with Notre Dame and Baba. We actually indicated, though, that the Pope was supposed to be the first person to die. And that's what came through within our cards also. So, right now, those, it's hard to say, though, but anything else you want to say?
Well, it was a saint, he was an Irish saint, not Saint Patrick, but Patrick was an Irish anyway. And he wrote several verses, or I can't remember exactly. It's been a while. And anyway, supposedly, not Benedict, but the Pope before him. Was that John Paul II?
I'm not too sure.
Anyway, that was supposed to be the last Pope, and we've had 2 popes since then, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But according to his prophecies, these we should not have any more popes. We were supposed to have the last one 2 popes ago. So that prophecy didn't come through. And I think Edgar Casey also made a prediction on the popes. And again, it hasn't seen itself. It didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's the best way to put it. Yes.
Trying to say the right words. It just didn't happen. So again, it goes back to even the Son of God shall not know the time, the coming of end times. And I personally do not believe there is such a thing as what we would call the end times, where everything ceases. I think it's just a time where the universe kind of reboots, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. That's okay, so.
My thought. That's just my thought. Nothing to do with any religion or any biblical whatever. Just my thoughts.
Yeah. Now, the thing, though, is with our next pope, hopefully things go right. Everything goes according to what divine needs to be done. And this next pope is actually more open-minded. I know Pope Francis was actually open-minded. He was starting to get a little bit more, really got much older, but hopefully the next pope actually does understand a little bit more to do with, not with the position, but to do with actually the world itself.
Well,
Go ahead.
The interesting thing about Francis is because he was, first of all, he was the first non-European to be elected pope in quite a long while, 1,000 years or so. And I think because of his background, which he did connect with all kinds of people, plus he traveled just tremendously. He had more of a worldview than any pope before him. And I think that because he was not European, he was not a part of that pool, so to speak, of candidates who really never left the Vatican, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or had no idea what was out there beyond the walls.
So I know the Pope, though, would want, for those who actually have followed his path, or for the actually Catholics altogether, start showing love. Start showing more love than what you actually have shown altogether. There's too much hate in this world these days. What we need to do is actually start sending more positive love actually out there. And just before we go, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit more actually for you guys, so you guys can listen. And we do say thanks a lot for joining in today for this short stream about Pope Francis's death. Again, though, he was 88 years old. He passed away over in Rome time, which would have been actually at 7:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That was 1:35 p.m. So he passed away Sunday, over here, over in North America, but that would have been Easter Monday over there. But who knows, since Christ actually did rise actually on Easter Monday, who knows, he might rise again to the Pope. So
that would be interesting.
He could be the prophecy one. So again, though, thanks for joining us in today. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you for your time. It is appreciated.
The site of all conclaves since 1878. The cardinals voting under the famous ceilings painted by Michelangelo. The chapel is located